Okay. All right, we're all here, we're all ready. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. of the RAPTAC Committee. So first regular meeting, March 6, 2025. Citizens to be heard. Looks like there are none here tonight. So I'll move on to, well, and I suppose let me introduce myself. I'm Patrick. I know most of you. Zoe, I don't know if we've met. For those of you who were on the committee last year, I've taken over Bree's spot as the chair. So just kind of going to run the meeting. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to peruse the minutes. We've got a little bit of a backlog from 3/21 of last year, and then again from 4/16, the last two meetings. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 21st and April 16th of 2024.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Richard. Do I have a second? All right, seconded by Ben. Minutes approved. So on to review.
Take a vote or anything?
Oh yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Okay, so we'll move on to review and recommend funding on the 2025 applications. We do have a spreadsheet that Kelly prepared that sort of lines everything out. Let me share my screen here. Okay. So we have them, they're sorted right now in the order that the applications came in. In the rightmost column, you can see the scores that each entity was given on their application, along with the requested and requested amount and total project cost. So
And do we have access to that total score until right now?
they do, yeah.
Do these scores,
First I've seen.
Great. No, I was just making sure I did.
Yes.
I mean, I'm trying to write them all down.
Yeah, and I can, let's see.
quick question, do the scores account for people who abstained from scoring?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
So that's just the average of all 5 scores?
That's right.
Essentially?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there since we do have a decent amount of folks abstaining because they're connected in some way with these groups. So Zoe, ARC? Which one is that?
Art for Recovery.
Art for
You-
Recovery,
you're surrounded.
okay, my apologies.
See,
I should know the
It's
acronyms.
not the organization applying for funding, but I work
It's,
for the Recovery Center who
Oh.
did the host.
Sure, that's fair. And then Emily with Youth Garden and Richard with the Sci-Fi Movie Fest.
And I'll say that I indicate on my sheet that I probably should abstain from the Moab Community Child Care. I'm a previous
Okay.
employee. I did still give them a score just for my thoughts,
Okay.
but I'm glad to abstain from that.
Okay,
I'll add to that, I recently started doing some contract work for KZMU. I also gave them a score, but just want to put it out there.
Is it what is that, just like bookkeeping?
Bookkeeping,
Like-
yeah.
Okay.
I used to work at the Multicultural Center.
oh, I got
I
you.
mean, if we're gonna do this,
I feel-
we're getting into something that, I've lived in
Yeah.
Moab for 4
I
years.
feel it's okay. 'cause
Well,
everyone's
and
objecting.
yeah, Molly, because you brought this up,
Yeah.
it's a small town. A lot of us have ties to a lot of these organizations. So I think those, other than the 3 we listed, I'm comfortable proceeding if everybody else is. I think it's going to be, there are a lot of ties. I think that's fair.
Can you go back to the screen with the
Yes.
total scoring? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll open it for discussion among the group. I don't know, how the group wants to proceed. Looking at these one by one,
Maybe I could request that they get put in order of the scores from low to high or high to low?
sure.
I think whatever
That'd really
method
screw
we
me
used
up.
last year that Emily proposed worked really well and felt
Yeah.
efficient and effective.
So Emily actually, and she did it again, remember she actually suggested amounts? Do you remember that conversation last year? And I thought that was.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank you.
Emily, should-
Yeah, and I'm happy to do that too, but I think Richard also, I'm trying to remember last year, also pointed out that last year we just kind of discussed which applications we're just throwing out or
Yeah,
recommend throwing
should we
out.
start with that?
I think so. Is everyone good with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to start the
Okay.
process.
So
Maybe
looking
we
at
can
the.
just go down the list then.
We can
We're
go down the
looking at
list.
the lowest
I
scoring.
can sort them low score to high, I believe. Or Kelly, do you know if that's an option? I'm seeing that it can sort them alphabetically.
Try A to Z or Z to A, it'll work.
Except the names are different than the.
Great.
Yeah, but that looks like it did.
Okay, so try A to Z then.
Okay, so that's your low score to high.
Okay.
Just-
And I have a question
Yeah.
just for the group. When we're going through these, I know that obviously we only have so much time. When we're starting with these lower scores, is it beneficial for us or for the applicants if we talk a little bit about what we thought and why we gave you the scores, or should we just be kind of just moving through?
I think we should have a feedback and some notes on why it scored low. Just simple and concise. So that way if someone contacts Kelly, she can actually say, it scored low because it had limited community outreach.
Yeah, and
Or-
remember that this is, it's not just contacting Kelly, that this is a recorded meeting. And, you know, I think that we owe it to all these applicants to have some discussion about what our thought process is. Sure.
Well, if we're starting with more community childcare, I think it's interesting because I think I rated that one a little bit higher than is showing up here, but I'm curious what their thoughts were on that.
I didn't even think we should fund it, so I gave it a 20. It's a private business.
It's not,
It's a 501c3, but why should, I just don't see that as a viable project. But that's just me.
I thought the project and the organization was I think it's in theory a good fit. And anecdotally, from living in Moab, I think we all know that childcare is a huge, huge need here. I think playground expansion, you can tie pretty directly to recreation. And then outside of, recreation and arts, there's obviously so many benefits to our local economy to having good childcare. That said, I think the application they didn't really present much information to lay that groundwork. There's so much evidence for why this is a community benefit, and that just wasn't there. So without that lived experience of being in Moab, it didn't feel clear in the application. And it also didn't feel like a lot of work had been done to find other supporters or secure volunteers or in-kind donations. It was all kind of speculative based on, what had worked in the past without any evidence that, those people have been contacted. So that's, while I obviously would love to support childcare in Moab, it's such a huge need. I didn't feel like the application was very well fleshed out.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
That was absolutely the challenge that I found with it was that there wasn't even a contractor lined up, that they were just basing it on, service provided, something donated in the past. And to me that, we're looking at, the quality of these projects. And so for me, I really need to see a project that's really well developed and has all the, the T's crossed and dotted.
So would we summarize that it seems like they could work on more public funding or, fundraising, and they are very limited in their outreach because they only had 20 children, but they might go to 40 children. I'd love to buy them a slide, but, yeah.
Oh, I wonder what it's zoned for. Have they approached the city about expanding it like they're talking about? Is it a permitted use? Would it have to go through that process? And I'd like to know that before we would say, oh yeah, here's 7,500.
Yeah, I think my recommendations would be just showing more groundwork. Even if RAP is the only financial contributor, showing that in-kind donations or volunteer time has been secured. And then I wouldn't say so much outreach, but, showing the research as to why this is needed and beneficial for our community.
yeah. I'll add to that. I do think it was not a very specific application, and visuals would have been nice to at least kind of.
I thought it was very specific. They want the fencing and they have someone to do it, and they want the groundwork and they want a slide. So it was like exact amounts, but pretty minimal. But Yeah, so I guess we have the choice of eliminating or giving a small bit, but probably elimination is,
Well, what did you have something, Ben?
Well, I'm not sure if the group thinks I should recuse myself or not. I have comments, but I don't need to add them. It sounds like the conversation's going a fine way. I am a former employee of them. But to answer your question, I mean, I think that we could also, if the body wanted to, you could table this and come back to it at the end if you wanted to revisit funding, or you could just remove it from the table now with the motion. You could do either.
That would be sort of I don't really have opinions here, but how I've done it before on the Grand County Rec Board is if there's some uncertainty, maybe put 0 as a placeholder, and then, as we're funding the other projects, if there seems to be money left over, that could be an option.
I think it's a great use of our time, and I think that, yeah, eliminating something should be reserved for this is terrible or ineligible. I don't think that's what I'm hearing.
It's a
That
good
sounds
point,
great.
Ben, I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and and I know we're all aware of this, but just to kind of put this out there, we have, what, $93,000 to fund?
83.
83, and we're looking at $210,000.
Yes.
yeah, but you could do like a, yeah.
Absolutely,
like
I
you
just
could
want to
do-
put that out there, just so that
right.
we're all thinking about that,
Yeah.
as we're going on.
So they
yeah.
requested 75, we could say 1,500, but,
Of course.
so let's table them.
I agree.
and say
0 for
scored low.
placeholder.
Support that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, create real change, mental health fit. Any discussion?
Oh, I hated this project. I thought, here's this group coming in from Salt Lake. There's no local participation.
They are USARA, they're all local.
Who?
The USARA.
Oh, I
right?
can't.
Yeah.
No, that's the
Those
one.
are
the next-
Related with this application, I think this is different. I think
Excuse
you're
me.
right. I think
Yeah, this is the mental health one. Yeah,
Yeah.
USARA, I'm fine with.
Right, but I
the-
think they're a main part of this mental health fit.
Okay, I
application.
still think
Yeah.
the project is a wrong fit for RAP, and I would like to see this
Okay.
not receive any money.
You're correct that it's not a local organization, and there was a lot of similarities between this one and the Wellness Collective fair. They were both kind of like wellness, mental health targeted fairs, one of them run by Wellness Collective, which is local, and then
Yeah,
this one being their.
Just like some just some background.
please.
This is the group that Miga and the Film Commission works with for their annual film festival. So they have done work down here before, even though they're not based.
Got it. So I think unfortunately that wasn't explained as well as it could have been in the application, because reading this, I also got the feeling the need is, I mean, as soon as you start talking about mental health, like, of course there's a need. Of course. But it didn't feel as tied to the Moab community as I wanted it to. I said the application, it came off deeply ambitious, but the specifics of it were actually more vague than I wanted it to be for how big it's talking. And then for a lot of these, I was trying to think about the economic multipliers, like what events or what projects are sourcing directly from other Moab businesses or other organizations, what partnerships, and I felt that this was kind of lacking in that department. I would table this. I would also eliminate it. I think that we have a lot of good projects on here we have to get to.
Totally.
I would eliminate it as well.
Do we need to be taking formal votes on each of these when we make a recommendation?
No, so what
to
we'll do
table,
is,
eliminate, or
we-
anything?
yeah, no, that's a great question. So we'll come up with our entire recommended funding, and then we'll vote on that.
Big motion. Perfect.
In one big motion. Any other discussion on create real change?
Yeah, I would love to see them reapply and just tie it a little bit more to Moab. I
Yeah.
think what they want to do is fantastic. There's just a lot of applications here that really seem to know the community a little bit better than this one did.
Well said, Ben.
Okay, so am I hearing that we're going to table this one or for potential removal or
think-
placeholder of 0 for now?
Yeah, I think likely
Okay.
removal.
Okay. All right, Moab Solutions. Very specific dollar amount in there,
I
4,000.
feel it's not a fit in the wrap. I feel if the recreation department wanted to tie it into their event scheduling and had a really formal thing, that'd be great. But I don't think humans are gonna back this up or do it. But So the only tie would be to parks, and the only tie would be to event purchasing of events to use the community picnic basket. And I just don't see a lot of follow-through.
And I agree, I think there are better ways, I mean, like a city ordinance with events or something, you know, to really push this and encourage people to do this. You know, I think something coming out of the mark, you know, I think it's a noble cause, I think, and I also think too, just financially, I was thinking about like the amount of money that's being asked and the impact, you know, it's like,
And then
I
the
compared it to
follow-through.
like $5 a plastic bottle or something, you know, with that, it's like, it's significant, yeah. So.
This was actually my highest
I
rated.
saw that.
It's actually
You
my
loved
highest
it,
rated project. I thought this was awesome. I think that the ask is so discreet compared to
Okay.
what it could do.
Yeah.
And also, I hear what Colin's saying about how a lot of this stuff could come from the city or some municipal organization, but also it hasn't yet. And it's great to see folks experiment with things. I see people using our parks, and I think that this is just a really small cost that could eliminate a lot of waste and get people more engaged in the city's green spaces. So I was really excited about it. I think it's maybe more of a stretch for this grant program than some of the other applications, but again, I felt so strongly about it in part because I thought the ask was like very small compared to what the gains are. But I'm not gonna like plant my flag on that or anything.
And so another thing to one of our categories is the ability to implement and financial considerations. And, you know, I think it was even stated in the application that they'll go on with this, but having this financial assistance would allow them to focus other, you know, financials on other things. Yeah. And so too, I mean, the beauty of this to me, and I've said this in the last meeting, is the sort of the risk that we're able to take with this for these, you know, some of these small, quirky, new things that are coming into our community, bringing all these, you know, great value to our community.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see us use that $83,000 somewhere else.
Great. I love that it's gonna happen whether we fund it or not, personally. Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion on this one?
What do you got, Emily?
Yeah, it's
That's the
hard.
face of an opinion.
I'm so conflicted because it's coming from such a good place. We're trying to increase responsible recreation with, you know, environmentally friendly practices. It's aligned, but also not. And I kind of agree with Molly. Like, I'm a little, sorry, I got your name right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was like, moment of panic. I'm a little bit worried about follow through, and it relies heavily on being able to market this as a resource as well.
Right, so when someone signed up for an event, they'd have to have this paragraph that says,
Yeah.
consider the community picnic basket.
Yeah.
And the wedding event and the funeral event's not gonna use it, because they
And
don't
if-
wanna use stainless steel
Yeah.
cups.
And like, if that piece of it was really strong, you know, then I think that I would be more excited, but I don't, you know, we read like 22 applications. I don't remember that being a strong piece of the application. And with it being like, okay, we're looking at recreation, arts and parks, this is the RAP tax. How, it's
It
so
just ties
subjective,
into
what
the
is,
city fee for the
those
event.
things are.
Yeah, for a
There's so many
park.
projects that in my mind are more aligned. The goal here is environmental responsibility, not necessarily the promotion of
Yeah,
recreation necessarily, so.
That was well put.
I think we should zero
Sorry,
this out.
Zero for now, all right?
Great discussion, thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay.
On to Dancing with Traditions. What do we got there? You requested 9, that's the entire projected project cost.
I rated it fairly highly, I think, except for maybe the last one, just because there weren't any other financial contributions.
Same,
But everything else, I mean, I think it's a well thought through project. They are right that there is such a need You know, it's a very specific audience, which I think is a good thing. And I know that they've come up in RAP before, and we haven't been able to fund them because they've been outside of the Grant County service area. And so I think it's awesome that they applied again and came up with a project that, you know, fell into city limits.
Now, were these the ones that said they had Eddie Caboti? Was that, did they say they had?
I believe so.
Yeah, Eddie Caboti is an amazing Native American Tui Hopi singer, flute player. I feel like their ability, after attending their powwows, we maybe could consider covering some of the costs of having the performers. It's a minimal part of the request. It is an art. It is I guess it's an art.
Absolutely, well, and it
Yeah.
brings this community closer to cultural roots and the ancestry of the lands that we're on, which I'm always in favor of. I was really happy to see that volunteer support is such a large component of this application, and I've seen that in action at the powwow. At the same time, relying so much on volunteers makes me question what's the replicability. You know, if we do this year and it works out, what's to say that many people are going to be around to help with it next year? That has nothing to do with the applicant. That's just the nature of volunteer power in general. But I do like this.
I think it's great.
So I just recommend reducing the requested amount just to cover the performers.
How much would that be?
I don't have the application in front of me.
I can pull that up real quick.
That would be great.
I have my concern about this project is it's initiated by a group in Provo. It's not locally based. The performers are not local. Unlike many of the other projects in front of us, I think the focus of our committee should be first projects that are done by locals for locals. Projects like this are wonderful, but I believe they should be paid for perhaps some fee. I thought it says it's a 1-hour event for $9,000.
I think I disagree with the part about it needing to be local because we don't, to my knowledge, have any professional Indigenous performers here. And that seems like a really important thing to bring to this community if we can help support it.
Yeah, and I think of it similarly in how I think of the Fast Pitch application, which I also really enjoyed, in that this event, it's not about locals, it's about bringing locals something they don't have.
Okay.
And it's also something celebratory. There's a critical mass. They're bringing people from all different parts of the Four Corners to participate in this thing. I know that for the youth involved, it's very exciting. You know, it reminds me, this is a terrible comparison, but it reminds me of when I went to like regional swim meets in high school. It's like people aren't hosting that because they need more swimming. They're hosting it, or the locals need it. It's because it's an event that brings a lot of people together from different places. And I think they've done fantastic with the powwow. I mean, they've brought the community together with those events, and I'm excited to see
But
it.
they're not the powwow.
They
They're
are.
they're going
They
to,
are the same performers.
the
Cultural Fire Events puts
Yeah.
on the powwow that we've seen for the past
And they planned
2 or
this
3
the
years.
the same
before.
gentleman, Jake McCrane.
Yes, Jacob Crane, exactly.
And that just adds so much quality to the project. Yeah, agreed.
I recommend a note just to fund the Moab City fees, the Moab event service, the rental, and the insurance, which is $950.
And I pulled a breakdown up so you can see the performer fees
So if
at $2,500 to pay the performers.
So if we ignore the performers, because they're already going to get covered up at the Grand County, and we covered this city, it would just encourage that they're trying to perform in the city at the Mark, which actually is a lot easier than getting up to the arena if you're downtown.
So
For
can you tell me
kids.
again what the total proposed was?
9.
9,000.
9,000?
Yeah.
I like that, but I'd love to revisit it towards the end if we have leftover change.
So what's the amount that you're proposing to fund?
$950 of the yellow.
Oh, just
Yeah, of the,
950.
of the, I guess the venue rental. So it almost like refunds them for performing at the Mark.
But we're not, but not funding any of the performer fees of
Right,
the drum
because
group.
they get covered when they go up to the powwow through the other big grants they get and the Grand County.
But don't you think this is an additional?
Yeah, to be able to perform at the mark.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
that
probably
I
still need to
consider-
pay the performers for this specific time.
Yeah. I'd like to see a little more
Yeah,
than
I
that.
Would too,
How
yeah.
about, how
I
about,
put, I mean,
Well, I
my,
was just doing that compared to giving them nothing, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's,
yeah.
there's-
I'd propose 4,000.
yeah.
That would be
Okay.
my proposal, others may disagree.
Do you have an idea of like, do you want that to cover specific line items or just 4,000 out of the ask?
It's a little less than half of what they're asking for, and it's kind of in line with what I was thinking we would fund for similar type events. So, yeah, that's, I
Yeah,
guess, where
let's
it came
start
from.
there, and then if we have extra at the end, let's come back and see, if we want to add more.
Sounds great.
Do we like 4 there for now? Okay. Oops,
We got a number
not
on the board.
44,000.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, with the spreadsheet that I put together, it's already out of whack because I gave money to places that we
that's
decided
okay,
not to.
that's
so.
okay.
Jumping off the point.
My notes, in my notes, I said to overfund Moab Solutions so they didn't have to buy from Amazon. So I'm with you. I'm also already out of whack.
That's so fun.
All right, KZMU.
This is getting some top people, right? We have the author of the uranium book being hosted. So we're back to an application that's asking for a specific funding of performers, speakers, right? Am I right on this? Wait, am I
I
on?
think that-
I was
that
on the
was,
museum. I was on the
museum.
museum, sorry. Whoops, never mind.
museum used broadcasting
Okay, stop.
broadcasting
Yeah.
equipment.
Stop
Yeah.
me. I was on the museum.
It was the
Wrong one.
application was mostly focused on simulcasting, but then also just some kind of seems like more general, station broadcasting support.
I'm trying to remember my radio term. Simulcasting, that's when we're going to events
Yeah,
and
they're
bringing them to the
broadcasting
airwaves.
live
Right,
events.
got it.
It wasn't so much it didn't read to me as a specific project and more, we want to keep doing the things that we're doing.
Sure.
And here's some examples of what that would look
Right.
like.
Do we have any way to verify how the 7,000 of last year helped the simulcasting? What, do they turn in their results?
They had a specific project last year, I think.
It was to start, or to improve the equipment,
Yeah, it was to buy equipment, that's right.
yeah, for the simulcasting. So it's almost like they just came back with it.
Maybe while you pull that up,
I don't have one from them yet, but
Okay.
keep in mind our deadline for everyone that got funding last year for final reports is June 1, since they get the whole year to complete projects.
right. I feel like they wrote something about it in their application, though.
Probably in their budget.
The costs in their budget is a station manager for 1,200, music and programming coordination for 1,200, engineer for 3,600, tiny station concert performers for 2,000, and the
the
bulk is the
tiny
simulcast equipment upgrades for 12,000.
Yeah.
And I'm most inclined to fund that line item if I'm gonna fund anything in this. I feel like that's a lasting impact for this station, for this organization that already contributes to recreation, arts, and parks, as they've made clear. So I don't know if I would fund the full 12,000, but I think the spirit of my funding recommendation would be for the equipment upgrades.
Okay, so, thank you. And they said they received 7,000 last year for the Lost Arts Narrative Project and the Community Event Accessibility Project to continue building community connection and access to the arts within Moab City, highlighting the voices of artists in Moab, practicing mediums that are fading from the collective memory.
That happened.
But that's what they said was funded last year, and I don't remember. I know they've applied a couple years in a row, and I feel like maybe it was 2023 that they did the equipment.
I think.
Do we know what the tiny station concert is?
They've been doing them for a long time.
Okay.
They're, performing artists, and they broadcast them live from the station.
Yeah.
To me, this one didn't read as here's this really cool specific project, but
Right,
more
this is
just
my
ongoing support
fundraising.
for a really
Yeah.
important arts and
right.
recreation resource in our town.
Capacity.
I recommend more like 5,000.
I like the accessibility piece of making local art available to people who can't come in person. Did you say 5,000?
Yeah, would you say?
I also said 5,000.
Okay.
What was the ask?
16?
Yeah. And last year we did 7.
I'm comfortable with 5.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
And these can always be adjusted when
Absolutely.
we get down, because we still have so many more.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
we come back
Yeah,
to the end, we'll do
Yeah.
more shading and all
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Okay, well, now we're on to the museum.
Yes, museum,
Okay, I'm
U92
so
Moab
excited.
Journeyum Legacy Speaker Series.
My major problem with this is the current state of affairs at the museum.
That's politics, not the application.
I don't know if they have the resources or the staff direction and capabilities at this point to move ahead with this kind of project. So I would think that we should table the whole thing at this time until we know what the leadership is at the museum and how they intend to proceed with their programs.
Well, they've already lined up the speaker series.
And I worry that.
Well, maybe that was premature.
I feel that exposes this body to becoming part of the political conversation, because what happens when they appoint a new executive director and it's someone we don't like or something like that? I think we have to trust that the museum is going to work very hard to put on good programming, especially because of the turmoil that they may or may not be in.
I love the museum. I sponsor things there. I just think this is not, I just think we ought to step back and see what happens there. I love the new exhibit.
On an alternate perspective, I think, like, we could see this as a tumultuous time for the museum, time for the government to us as the government to, like, step up and maybe help out.
Reinvigorate some interest.
Yeah, just another way to look at it.
So they asked for 8,000. I couldn't see in the budget if the Moab City actually does give the museum anything rather than county. So I recommended.
Not to my knowledge,
County does for sure.
not to
Yeah,
my
the
knowledge. Do
county
you know
is
anything
its
about that,
main
Colin?
budget.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
We
But-
could, yeah, we could look.
Well, anyway, on that note, I just suggested funding the speakers at 3,000.
Would you like to see their budget sheet for that one?
Always.
Pull that up real quick.
I would love to go on record and just say, I thought this is one of the most well-written applications we received.
I thought it was a great application.
A little down.
Yeah, I thought it was really well-written, really got me to understand the project, which in such a short space is an art.
There's the speaker honorariums that have already committed. And I looked this up. These speakers like Tom Zellner, who wrote a book called Uranium. Oh, yeah. Anyway, that's what they charge. Notice Tommy Rock doesn't get much.
Tommy Rock's got to charge more.
We've got a few open
I
slots.
thought it was a really great grant. I think it's a cool project. It was well written and thought out. I think, I think we've been funding most things a little bit under half, and it seems like that would be a good, I
Yeah.
think that'd be a good place to start.
Many of these things will get donated, like the lodging.
Well, they're not listed as in.
This may seem like an elementary thing, but I'm new to the group, and so I would love just an explanation in y'all's minds. Tell me about how this fits rap. Because I have my own ideas. I felt that this was like on the edge, but ultimately in there, but I'd love to hear other folks' reasoning as they read this.
I guess history falls under arts.
Okay,
Yeah, I felt arts related to me.
great, okay.
I just looked and I'm not seeing it in our annual budget.
That we give any support to the museum.
Yeah.
But,
Arts
and
is-
just going back to your statement about they've already booked the speakers, I don't think this group should take that into consideration. Groups shouldn't be out there out spending dollars or committing dollars and agreements before they even know if they have the money.
That's true. Many applications that are denied are going to other fundraising, or, then they turn to other.
I love the museum. I'm just saying, I'm just
I
not
think you
completely in
made
favor of this.
I think you made a great point about fiscal prudency. And I also think the reality is that I think they're gonna find a way to put it on. I think it's gonna be great, but I hear what you're saying. It is extremely important to take that into consideration when you're running such a large organization.
I donated a movie poster to the exhibit, so
Oh, yeah?
I told you I love it.
I think the best we can do is like take the applications at face value. You know,
Yeah, we shouldn't be,
yeah, we all have so
So-
much random insider knowledge, and
Right.
this is really, we
I
all.
recommend 3,000.
Can I be reminded what the ask is?
15,
15.
6, 3, 8, 9.
I would
15,
say,
640.
I would start with, 5 or 6, a little under half.
I'd be happy to see 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, ask was 8, total project cost was 15.
Okay, so 8 is the ask, so
Okay.
3 or 4?
How about 4?
Yeah.
Great.
That'd be good.
Great.
right at half.
It's more than I
Put
put,
that
but
in
I'm
there.
good with
Yeah.
it, because we're
Okay.
making
Four
it back
there.
up. 1,500.
We're messing up the bookkeeper.
Oh my gosh.
It's not reconciling.
Wellness is Collectives, Thrive Health and Wellness Fair, requested 5.
I was initially skeptical. I think we had a lot of conversation last year about, there were quite a few grant applications that were very wellness focused, and there wasn't a clear tie to arts and recreation. And actually, in reading their application, I got to the end and felt more convinced that they had found a way to tie it to arts and recreation, besides it just taking place at a local park.
Which park, by the way? I could not find it in the application, I'm sure.
Well,
I
they
missed it.
didn't, they don't have a space picked out yet
Okay, they haven't picked
for
it.
this year.
I probably just assumed Swanee.
No.
I'm sorry, say again?
This year, the event will be at the Mark.
Oh, so they have picked it out. I didn't get that from the application.
Do you know, are they intending to use like the entire Mark facility, including like side area outdoors? Okay, wonderful.
I think they also applied last year and we didn't fund them because it had no connection to, recreation, arts and parks.
Remember, they were gonna do a hike down the parkway or something?
Yeah.
There was something very, yeah.
So again, I appreciate that, they got rejected last year and came back and found a way to make it
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
in the
project.
budget for wellness, do they show that Ed Caboti fee?
$2,000.
They do,
is the
yep.
first line item.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, the top
Yeah.
2,000.
I don't feel passionate about like funding a lot of, the whole thing, but
Yeah,
a couple thousand is.
I agree. I think the fact that there is a musical component is nice. It doesn't feel like it's not the focus of the event. It's more like something to entertain people while they're
Yeah.
there. That's my reading. I would be comfortable funding a small amount.
At 5, or what?
What's the ask?
The ask is 5,
Yeah.
yeah. Total project cost a little over 12.
You're
I'd probably do
comfortable
2.
Yeah.
And that's perfect, because that's what Ed Capote's charged, and it says that without RAP funding, essential elements like live performances would be cut.
I think that's perfect.
with- And he performs on the Arizona PBS.
Okay, so we've got 2 there. Grand County Running Club, this will be the 3rd annual Moab
yeah.
Locals 10K.
This is a great community event,
Yeah.
People love it.
yeah.
And
Yep.
the ask is very little, right? Wait,
We should fund the whole thing, 2,000.
Yeah, it's like $2,000, I think was
Yeah.
there.
I think that's money very well spent.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
The number of people reach.
I agree.
And I can't find it, just give me a second. So
There
it's
were,
under-
yeah, if you want me to pull up any supporting documents for that
So it's
application, I
under
can.
Running Club?
Yes,
Grand
yep,
County.
Grand County Running Club,
Their ask is 2,000?
Yeah.
that's what we were showing,
And
yeah.
last year, we gave them 25. So that's nice.
Seems like they have money in the bank. That's
Yeah.
what I wrote. in
Well,
my
they,
notes.
I mean, their costs are very low. You get a T-shirt. Okay, so
I'm good
we're
with
saying
2.
2,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ephemeral Collective, Moab Stoop Fest.
Ooh, you guys scored it high.
I love this
I thought it
idea.
was really cool.
I
Yeah.
loved it.
It's
I
very
can't wait to forget
limited
this is
to
happening and then stumble
downtown
upon it.
people.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll.
It's
Sorry,
just
I gotta
so
find it.
different.
Aluminum plates.
I'll
They're
also say
stainless
that
steel.
I also say that I don't think it's the mission of this board, but I think it's a really cool, or committee, but I think it's really cool if we can support new events as they're getting off the ground.
Right.
Even if they only happen once, like, the great events that we have now were once a first-time event.
Absolutely.
You
That's
know.
the
Yeah.
best thing we can do with it.
Yeah.
How are you gonna know which stoop they're going to? How am I
Sounds like
gonna,
there's gonna be an itinerary.
how am I gonna find them?
Probably got it figured out.
Yeah, there's a stoop schedule.
They'll let us know.
Okay. I will make, I have a couple specific comments.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Go ahead,
Number
Emily.
one, I really like the concept. Number two, I'm worried about liability if
Yeah.
you're going to a bunch of people's private homes. But that's on them to worry about, but there was no mention of it, and there's not like a line item for insurance or anything like that, so, yeah, it's a consideration. It seems like they are thinking about safety. They had like people on bikes being, I can't remember exactly what they called them. They didn't have artists picked out. There was no one named.
Why do they need 13,000?
They're paying someone part-time or one or
Yeah, let me-
at
let
least
me
one
see.
person
Let me
part-time
pull up
to
their, I'll
do
pull
this.
up their budget sheet
Yeah,
and
it
we
looks
can
like
break that
the,
down.
let's see, their marketing is gonna total just under 3,000.
Okay.
Staff costs are gonna total just under 8,000. Event logistics are gonna be about 3,600, performer fees, 4,400.
Sorry, this one's a PDF, I can't.
Yeah, no, it's not the clearest.
So a conversation that we've had in the past is, which might be relevant here, is if we do, and I'm trying to look for their other financial input, but like if we choose to not fully fund or not fund at all any of these, what does it do to it? You know, is the partial funding, what does it say for where's their other?
Which is a question in the application that a lot of people forget to answer.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It does say in the
Do you have
application
some
what would
back-
happen
But
if
here's
we
their,
didn't
app-
fund
yeah,
this.
here's their application.
Okay, thanks.
Fiscal implementation.
Many people don't answer it, but it
Okay.
is there.
So how did they answer that?
Budget total summary.
Also, sorry to be the deputy.
Is that correct?
I do really think this.
Kelly,
is
are we correct in that other financial assistance or, is in the application? Am I in the right spot here?
Keep going down, I think.
Is it further
Funding
down, target
resources.
audience?
We expect 100 attendees.
I think they'll get more.
I really like that they had a night at the library where they sought community input. You know, and libraries have neutral space that anyone can go to, and then they
very
created an
small.
event based around that input, which I
Yeah.
think is really cool.
I thought the community need in this application was great because they went out to figure it out rather than just kind of opining on their own.
I would love to fund half of it as a start.
What was the request again?
13.
It's in the needs assessment.
Oh, and then, okay.
We also do want to keep in mind, like Molly is saying, we need, if it's a city event, like it needs to take place in the city. I mean, or at least partially in the city. So I think that needs to be really clear if we do fund them, that their stoops need to be in the city.
Right.
Spanish Valley Stoop Fest.
I was about to say, I'm not gonna make it if it's like,
Yeah, because they do say that mainly promoting bicycling.
Good point,
Yeah.
but
I think it's assumed but not clear, you're correct.
but that's a great distinction. Hopefully they'll review this and think about the liabilities.
I did see that they have event insurance, slightly different than liability
Right.
insurance.
I think it's fun and creative and
Yeah.
not something that's happened before, and there's definitely some like quirky logistics to figure out,
Yeah.
but I would love to support it happening.
Me too. At what amount?
I feel like the old curmudgeon, because I think it's a very limited, young, small, maybe 100 people. I mean, how many stoops are they really going to do? 3, 4?
What do you think it's young?
Because a
folks
majority
got
of the
stoops.
city of Moab isn't going to find a stoop.
Well, I mean, they've got marketing costs and I think they're gonna have like a schedule and I imagine they're gonna publicize this, so.
Right.
I mean, I don't think this is gonna be like a free-for-all, like a go and find it. I definitely think this is gonna be loose feeling, but definitely like there is going to be a schedule and itinerary.
Okay. All right.
So I heard half thrown out there.
What was the
Do you want us,
request?
do we want to look at other,
Should we start with like 5 or 6?
Great. 5. Because that's how I did all the math.
I'd like to earmark this for a little more. I know we're gonna have to come back to things, but I was thinking somewhere around the range of 7 to 8. 7?
I'll meet in the middle, 6.
yeah, we're hearing
6.
some.
I think like roughly we can fund everyone a little under half. So, we've already cut out a few. 6, I think, is a great place to start.
6 for now?
Okay.
Okay, let's
Six
put
to
6
start.
in there for
I think
now.
it'd be awesome to come back to it.
It would be 6,500 if we're really doing half.
Oh, and Richard truly recused himself. He left the room.
He's,
So the Moab Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Okay,
This would be Kelly 4th year? 5th year?
This is our 3rd year. Oh, but you mean
The
for the
sci-fi?
city in general?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is
okay.
year 6 for the, no, I'm sorry, it's for the film, for the Sci-Fi Fest. This is a recurring, the requested amount is 3,000, which is just under half of their total project cost.
I'm good with 3. I don't know.
To speak for Richard, who's not here, this is a great, done by locals, for locals, small ask for an awesome thing.
Yeah, I think we
I'm all
fund
about
it.
fully funding it.
It's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally quirky.
they could do it for 24. Oh. I don't know where I came up with that, somewhere with the budget sheet or something.
Any more discussion on that one? Are we hearing full
I
3?
think 3 is great.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm only going up from there.
Okay, Friends of Anonymous Park Bike Reclamation and Improvement, or Bike Park Reclamation.
I think this is a better application than I've seen in past years from them. Yeah.
So I fought really hard for this the past 2 years, and now I wanted to give them a 0 because they are getting lots of money from the city. They're getting the city parks workers, it's in their budget, and their fundraising, and all their dirt work just gets washed away. So so last year's, all that dirt work is gone. Last year we gave them,
I can't remember.
where are they?
I also had, flooding was definitely a comment that I had. It's just unfortunate where it is, and I'm not looking for them to figure out how to get rid of floods in their application, but just addressing resilience on what work is done and how it's gonna last
They're
more
very
than a year.
resilient, they're already built back.
Oh, I know
they're
that.
Already up and going.
So, yeah, and I
Yeah,
don't know
it's-
specific, I haven't looked at this application. Is this specifically pertaining to the upper side with the jumps, or are they looking to rebuild what was washed away?
Both, the pump track would
The
be.
pump track as well.
But one of the things that they're suggesting is fabricated jumps, and so
Oh.
things that would be flood
Yeah.
resistant.
Oh, was that
flood
in the
resilient.
budget?
It is,
Okay. The
install prefabricated takeoff features.
Budget's rough to
Oh,
read.
I missed that, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me,
And
I'll
they've
pull that
already
document
started
up.
doing that, so.
Okay,
Budget's hard to read.
I thought this one was great.
Okay.
And I think it's clearly recreation, it's within city limits, and it's
And
it's
it's
such
all-
an important resource
they
for
struggle so hard.
for kids who spend time after school there, like good,
Yeah.
safe place for kids.
It's
also
there's people there all the
commuting.
time.
I wanted more about kids in the application. I think that's incredible. And also, I really love this application because it relies a lot on some great community partnerships.
And
Yes.
they get 7 from the hoedown.
And the bicycle repair station is huge for
Yeah.
that location and for, the people who visit there.
Did you think we should start with half then, or
Okay,
a little
say
more?
half.
What was their ask again,
I
Patrick?
think it was 15.
15. They've identified total projects as being 150,000.
Yeah, it's an expensive project, so like, I don't want to look at the ways that they're being supported elsewhere as like, I think that's a strength.
Yeah.
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 I put 6 in mine. I would go up to 7.
My question about the project was, what are they doing for flood mitigation with this project?
They're doing more permanent.
I'm sorry.
Jumps.
fine.
So a couple of these things, Richard, so one, the area of focus for several of these, the projects are outside of the area that's been really impacted by the flood. Some of it is happening down there, but part of it is making like fabricated jumps. So they're not dirt jumps, so they hold up and require less rebuilding.
I think it's good.
And then also one of the things that really stands out to me is the community bike repair station that'll be there. And I mean, because anytime you drive by there, there are kids from the community there.
Oh, yeah.
Busy.
I just hope we can keep it year after
Right.
year.
Yeah, and I know Mark Howe is working with the city to try to figure out ways to
Okay.
sort of fortify it a little bit from future flooding.
Good.
Could we get a quick tally of where we are right now in our recommendations within
Kelly's
Yeah.
pulling that.
within the
You want to pull up the, yeah.
just the total of this column so far?
Yeah, 26.
26,000. So we've made it through almost half the applications.
Well, don't
got
worry
some big
about
ones
that
coming
yet.
I would recommend 8,000 for this. I think it's a great project.
I like that too, yeah.
Great.
Okay. I'm hearing 8. Fast Pitch Elite Moab, or FEM. Field of Screams, that's their annual fast pitch tournament in October. Ask amount of 10,400, total project estimation at just over 40K. This would be year 3.
Yeah, it's proven, it's huge, it's multi-day. Like what you were saying, Ben, what a cool thing for the 40
Yeah.
local kids who get to experience hundreds of kids coming into their community. And there is also, I mean, I hate to, but there is a huge economic piece to this. Where,
It's great to consider that. And similar to when I brought it up before in the context of the powwow, again, this is one of those events that, 10 years from now, like Moab could be really known for this regionally. Like this could be that event and it could be so exciting for this community and be so much bigger, more comprehensive than it is now. And it's already at a great place, but I think it's a great investment to support. What's the ask again?
And it starts the morning after the spooky cyclocross. So last year our staff was out until midnight prepping turning that from a bike race course into softball fields again.
Oh, my.
And it was kind of a fun night. And Tracy wants the same night for the night before for the race again.
All-nighter.
Should we start with like 6 or 7?
Emily, did you have thoughts?
I want to pull up the application. I want to see what
Last
we
year
did
we
last
did
year.
5.
Last year we did 5. Okay.
I keep super curious. I know they have to be their own thing. They can't get within the school system.
You're curious as to why?
Yeah.
So these, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
So typically, historically, City Rec has run all of the recreation programs outside of just a few for the middle school and then none of the high school up through 8th grade.
Oh, none of the high school?
Yeah, we do a few programs that serve high school aged kids, but we don't run. So the school district does that. The school district is starting to take back middle school sports. But City Rec has always done softball up through 8th grade.
Okay.
This is a
like a-
travel team that's outside of the
Yeah.
City Rec, but
Isn't it like a Title IX thing too? Or at the high school, like you have to have some, because there's a baseball team at the high school,
Yes.
right? But there's not a softball team because you have to have, I could be totally wrong.
Well, the
an
high
equal
school-
amount of like
yeah.
women's and men's sports.
yes, you have to offer a similar program. So there is high school softball.
There is? Oh,
Yeah,
dang.
this is a high school. There are some high school age. I think it's age based. It's 14 and under or 15 and under. So there may be some high school freshmen. But this is an accelerated team that operates outside of their season. Yeah.
Sorry, I retract my statement.
No,
I don't know what I'm talking about. Listen to me.
$30,000 just for tournament and umpire management.
I know. Can we get more free umpires?
So I think they use ASA certified umpires,
Oh,
which there is definitely a cost associated with that.
Yeah, you don't want me in there with
Yeah.
the mask doing it for free.
That's a high-risk job.
Yeah.
It's
It's also good to pay people for their work.
Yeah.
I'd be good with 5, again, renewing from last year.
That sounds great.
Okay, last year we only gave, 5. So, right.
I'd love to come back to see if we can increase our funding for them, but I'm happy with 5 for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to come
okay.
back to that one.
We'll call it 5 for now.
They don't depend on us to make it happen, they've got a lot of funding, which is great.
Okay. Moab-
Art trails.
Yep, art trails. 8th annual sculpture exhibition. The request is 10. Total project cost 33.
I did email about this one because in their budget, they show they actually get 33. So their ask is for the artist honorariums, in a sense.
That was the one I emailed you back on
Yeah.
the clarification.
Yeah.
So that They have the all of the requested, but they weren't guaranteed all of those on their budget.
Right, but they get 10 from the city already, and they get 10 from the county.
I think this is a wonderful program for the city of Moab. We're lucky to have a program of this size with outdoor sculptures. It's probably one of the leading outdoor community sculpture programs in the state of Utah. And I think as we attract more tourists and visitors for them to come and see all of the art that's on display and the kind of artists that we feature here. So I would love to see us participate in this program.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that, and I would say that for the municipal presence that this project has, I think a lot of people from outside of this community would be surprised that it's not just the city undertaking something like that, that is kind of a separate entity. So I'd love to see continued support for this. I think it's a great project.
And in the budget, you saw the city and county are doing 20,000.
Yep, I saw
Yeah,
that.
okay, I recommend 7,
So you'd ask was 10?
yeah.
Feels fine.
It'd be fun. Okay.
Emily?
I had a
You
little less
saw,
than that, but I'm good with 7, yeah.
What'd you put?
5.
Can you show the bottom again, where we're at in terms of total?
I put
I
5.
cannot. The big,
But again, my budget's
the
only
big
6.
reveal. Oops.
I thought 5 too.
So that brings us up to
Some people are
46
saying
total
5.
on the art trails.
46, so far we've budgeted for a little over half of what we have to give away.
Yeah, 46, and that's with art trails
Well,
at
and
7.
our highest rated ones are coming up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure, 5.
Okay,
I'm gonna go down to 5 there. Okay, USARA partnership with Skate Moab for a family fun skate date. Requested amount $8,360. Total project cost $10,450.
What did I say about this? This is the one that this is one that USARA submitted?
Yes.
Yes.
USARA is
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I think I mean, I've never actually been, but I think it's such a great, like, nighttime activity that is open to everyone and fun and silly, and like, it just keeps growing, and they've gotten really creative with it. I think it's a great resource for kids and families,
And supporting
Silly
their
adult.
mission is important.
Yeah.
And it's a great tie between arts and USARA's mission, yeah.
And coming back to what you said, this is another great example of buy locals for locals.
Totally.
I love that one. It's easy to get behind, wholesome fun.
Right there at the Sun Court.
I want to see everybody out there skate.
I was skating last year.
You don't
I was
want
out
that
there.
from me.
Here's our budget in case you're interested.
What are their other funding sources, Patrick?
USARA
Good
has,
question. I can find that information.
general,
Their own money.
not much.
Funding sources. There it is.
Why is volunteer hours in the expenditures?
Yeah, a lot of that.
It's a lot of people, yeah, the budget's just, it's a hard one to figure out.
Last year we gave 6.
I'd love to give 6 again. That was the number I was about to recommend.
Oh, yeah, at least 6.
Okay.
I'm hearing 6. Any more discussion on that one?
Sounds awesome.
Throw that in.
Get your skates ready.
Yeah. Okay, Moab Arts Festival 2025. Ask amount of 12, total budget of 56,000.
As the MC of this event, we all know this is a huge event in town for 2 days. It does bring a lot of people from out of town, from in town, and you know, this event has been going on. This will be, I think, the 32nd year, and I think that whatever support we can give, you know, I'm just a volunteer, I think it'd be fabulous.
Right, it borders on commercial, but they did a good application this year, specifically saying they'd expand the kids' art tables.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Yeah,
And it's in a park.
yeah,
I put 6. But,
great.
that sounds great.
I put a lot more, but, you know.
Yeah,
I second 6 as a starting point.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is that where we want to put it for now?
Do we know
Any
what
other
we did
discussion
last
on
year?
that from
That feels good for now.
others? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a really interesting one.
Art for Recovery?
Very specific art audience, doesn't really affect the community except in offering art classes.
I went to the exhibition last year that they did. It was so cool. Yeah.
I liked it, I scored it high.
I scored it
I'm
high
just
as
saying
well.
it's very specific.
I love this
That's
project.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'd give them everything they want, the 6,000.
Yeah.
I think the more we can do through our committees in the community to address the issues related to mental health, addiction, anything we can do along those lines is not only good for the families, the individuals, but also for Moab. So I think these kinds of programs, speaking of a man who his daughter has a doctorate in art therapy, I think this is a very important program.
Does she stand to benefit from this? Is that a conflict of
No,
interest?
she works in New York City.
I also really love this project. I think it's very exciting. I did want to just throw out that I think that I felt the community needs section, kind of echoing, I think what Molly was getting at, could have been a little more fleshed out. I know that these issues are affecting American communities a great deal, but also I think that there is good data, and I don't think it's too hard to weave a narrative that's more Moab specific. So I'd love to see that in a future application, just to really make that need clear. That being said, it is a clear need, and I do think it's a great application. So I'm supportive. Let's see, fully?
I just wrote beautiful project, no notes.
Do they allow the tools in the prison? No one's gonna stab themselves?
I mean, I know someone who got really into fiber art
Okay,
while in prison.
They got
So-
pickleball.
okay, we're funding it,
6,000, I would recommend.
Okay. Well, all right. I can get behind that.
Any other discussion or
Nope.
we're saying six there? Okay. Music Festival, 33rd year of concerts and music education programs. So this spans multiple programs. 16.6 is the ask, 430, just under a $500,000 for the total project cost.
The Music Fest has just expanded itself to just reach into so many different corners of our community. They also have it's a drop in the bucket, but.
Yeah. I did really like this year how they made it really clear that they're trying to serve and reach more Moab locals. On the other hand, they didn't define which projects were in city limits, and it felt very much like a general operations grant. So I think, we could deduce that they'll use the funds for the local events, but we don't know for sure from the grant application, I guess. Local events is in city limits.
This leads into the discussion that we've had for the 3 years that I've been involved, is when we get the requests from these big institutions year after year, I myself would love to support them as much as we can because of what they do for the community, both in the schools and the entertainment and the business side of it, all the economic benefits. But going back to a very early comment that Ben said, and one of the things I've always pushed for this committee, or at least I hope, is innovative new programs like the stoop parties. Somehow, we have to kind of separate or almost have a pot of money that's going to be, it's like every year we're given $45,000 to folk festival, the music festival, you know, all of those. And the pot for some of the more creative and some of the people who just want $1,500 to paint something, we're missing them. And we talked about it. I don't think we know how to get to it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'd love to see this program be able to reach out to some of those other just starting out artists and related recreation programs.
There are some in the community that don't feel the Moab Music Festival should be funded because they do so well.
And I can understand that. I understand that discussion.
It's a balance, you know, us providing funding for something well-established is also saying that we think there's a good reason this is well-established. It's a great event. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I also want to balance that with supporting new innovative things, especially when their asks are oftentimes smaller and may go a little further in terms of bringing something new to the table. I'm definitely, because of how we've been going through this, I'm not in favor of funding the full ask, just because I think we've done that very rarely. I'd love to know what people think is a good partial number, because I think it would be a mistake not to continue supporting this event, but I think your comments are wise.
This feels, you know, it's like a similar conversation to KZMU, to,
Right.
you know, going through other ones where like, thumbs up, we like what you're doing, you know, we wanted to keep that part of our community, but again, it's, you know.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's
What did we give them last year?
8,
like 8 or, yeah.
Okay.
so.
And I
what-
think
It's the Arts Recreation Parks tax, and like, I think also, I don't know who's looking at this, but from, just an optics point of view, it'd feel kind of weird to not give
Yeah.
money to a,
Something that brings in lodging, pays artists.
Oh, true.
that, and also that is so directly arts-based.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Especially knowing like, you know, in theory, these funds are going more to support all this really, really cool programming they're doing for local youth and
Yeah.
for, you know, Moab in the
Yes.
winter.
Yes.
yeah, I agree.
And they touch on Winterlude, and that's been a success, so I think that's
Yeah.
a great thing to tout. I'm sorry.
I would say like 6 to 8 to start.
I'd be good with that, yeah.
Yeah, the budget's a little misleading. They put 200,000 at the bottom for their full-time staff costs, so
Yeah.
that's their entire year's operational
Yeah, for
costs.
sure.
Except it says percentage based on,
How about,
related to in-town events.
how
And
about
not that
6, and
Yeah.
this can be one of
Come
those
back.
things that we again revisit, depending on what's left at the
Okay,
end.
love that.
Great.
I hope maybe at the end we can have a discussion on some kind, you know, recommendations like we did last year where we sent a letter off, some things. And this could be one of those areas where we say, hey, take another look at this. Maybe the city itself can come up with some additional funding
Well,
for.
this is the city itself, but. in-
Well, this is a
Yeah.
wrap tax. This doesn't come out of your property tax.
Right.
Yeah.
This comes
but,
out of sales, so.
A huge other percent is just going directly to parks.
As I said, I think we should have a list of recommendations, and this could be one of them.
Yeah.
I love that.
All
Okay.
right, Friends of Arches and Canyonlands, Moab's first annual Wild and Scenic Film Festival. Ask of $3,300, total project cost of $10,300.
Sounds cool, small ask.
I loved it, yeah.
Great,
Yeah, that's an easy one.
good
It's a
project, great.
small investment for what they're thinking could come from it. Yeah.
Okay.
33.
Science Moab, free local science and natural history events, 15,767. Ask.
This to me is, we're right back to like the stoop thing, really specific target, really good following of specific people. The problem is it's in a bar, except for the festival. So they, in their application, they split out the festival. I love Moab Science. I'm just saying, it gets me on the application.
So, I mean, Science on Tap is in a bar, yes. But the crowd that
festival.
shows up is like, I mean, you know, 21
Very
and
diverse,
all the way
yeah.
to all.
Runs
Yeah.
spectrum.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's such a beloved event.
It is.
Yeah, and also on the note of the bar, I mean, that's well taken, but also I sit on the board for Sea Haven and, our Ritz event every year. The reality is that certain topics lend themselves to, like, there are levels of excitement, and you can only get so far, and so it's fun to throw a party when you're dealing with a more heady topic. I think that Science on Tap has shown that they came up with a really cool way to get people to not just show up and learn, but talk about it afterwards, and that's why it's continuing. Yeah, I think this fits with RAP pretty nicely.
My only note, and I feel like I had a similar comment last year, is they're wrapping the Science Festival and Science on Tap, they're kind of wrapping it all into one application. I do wish that it would be specific to one or the other. But I also, as a grant writer, understand you're just trying to like cast a broad net so that if you get a specific grant from someone else for this thing, that you can pivot and use it here.
Sure.
So I get it, but yeah, so with part of it being, again, going back to the music festival, all that, some of these events are taking place outside of city limits. So I am happy to fund them. I'm just kind of throwing that in as a comment in case anyone's listening.
Yeah. That's well taken. I think a discreet ask goes a long way. I think that's easier for me to read and whatnot, so I hear you.
What about, I guess we're getting close. Should we do like half?
What do we have, 83,000?
Yeah, we're at 7.
I put down 6.
Also, I would recommend, like, don't let your total stop you from doing your recommended amount, because you can always go back to other.
That's very
Okay.
true.
It's going, trim from the bottom.
Yeah, that's why we had it blacked out originally.
Show us that money. I'm sorry, what was your recommendation, Zoe?
No scarcity minds.
Half?
Half.
Go from there?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
7.5.
You can go 7,500 or,
Emily, what are your thoughts on this?
Looking at like other similar events, so like what did we fund the Moab Arts Festival at? I don't know. No, I can't remember, but
6.
Yeah.
Did we?
things that are kind of like festival.
yeah, half.
Yeah, so
12 was
6.
the ask.
that works for me.
6?
So we want to put it up for now? Okay. All right. Youth Garden, YGP, a public park.
Later.
Emily's recusing herself from the conversation.
It once again is,
What did we give it last year? 15?
9488 last year.
Was it for the same project?
The Youth Garden Project is such an amazing walkthrough. Any tourist, anybody, every kid, anyone. It's just amazing.
I would treat this like we've treated everything else that's, established and fits the grant, and let's, go with half, give or take. And then go from there. I think I don't know.
Yeah, I like half as well. I just want to make a note that I thought that this was one of those applications that very effectively communicated the community need. I was really happy to see that. Yeah, I think half for now sounds good.
And they tied it really well to recreation.
Then we'll see, we come back.
Do you want to get exact with these half amounts, or do you want to round down? You want to go?
We haven't yet. We're not starting now.
8 or 9?
8.3.
Yeah. Well, that was my question. Let's go 8.
Let's go 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally, MVMC, Multicultural Youth Arts and Rec.
Wait,
We've got Folk Festival.
Free concert series.
Concert series first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what I said. Fine, I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Emily. Emily.
Oh yeah, we can let Emily get back. Yeah, sorry about that. Yep. Friends of
think
Moab
this-
Folk Fest, free
The
concert
free
series.
concert series, I think, is just one of the neatest community events that we have,
Fabulous.
and reaches so many people, and it's just such a
Yep,
way to bring this community together. Yep.
yep.
What are your thoughts, Molly? I heard it.
I love it. Oh, no,
Oh.
it's just a tough one. It's just like so amazing. And once again, you're gonna fall into that same thing as Moab Music Festival.
So-
I like folk, so I'd rather give all that money to.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what I've been talking about before. I think this is one of those things that's on its way to becoming a staple of this community if it isn't already. So I'm happy to see it continuing to happen. I also like that in this application, they talked about smart ways they're going to quantify their success that they may have not done before, shows that they're evolving and continue to think new, even if the event is very similar in appearance.
I think some of their funding is also,
Amazing.
sorry, what?
They get very good funding.
They
They
get a lot
did.
of federal funding.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit in.
And some private foundations, and some private foundations.
Yeah,
Browning.
I do think a good chunk of it is federal, and I think that that's very much in question, if not gone right now.
And that was
So,
discussed in the
Yeah,
application,
yeah.
not specific amounts, but.
I put 10.
I like 10. I think this is a great year to show support of that, a little more than half.
Yeah, I agree.
But Ben, to your earlier comment and just generally speaking,
Please.
are we thinking that, and this is I think a unique year and based on what we just said, but with some of these more established, bigger draw events, like, do we want to, moving into the future, start trying to kind of wean them off RAP money
Yeah,
and let them use their, just established credentials to find other funding
Was
sources?
it, that's
And
what
Maybe.
Richard
Yeah,
was
and
saying, to
really go after,
recommend
yeah, exactly what you were
certain
saying,
things.
Richard, and really
Yeah.
start, and just to put that out there, like, in thinking for future years. I think the federal funding piece is huge with this.
yeah.
I don't know, I feel like government grants are part of a diversified funding strategy, People are paying in their sales tax money that's supposed to go to recreation, arts, and parks. And I think that, kind of getting back to Ben's comment from earlier, if you have a successful program that is, people love and is running successful, like, I don't really, I see where you're going with that, of like, but like, who are the other people that are stepping up to fund it?
Yeah.
It's,
That's
then
a
you're
good
just
point.
bopping
Yeah, yeah.
around
Yeah,
to going, well, now these guys feel like I need to stop here, so now I gotta go over here, and like,
Yeah.
it's just as from my perspective as a nonprofit director, every year you gain some new funding, and every year you lose some, and so,
Yeah.
like, I think,
Yeah.
I like being, I like us being a sustainable source of funding for really strong programs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you said
agree
that
with
really
everything
well.
you said. I think, Colin, you make a really good point, and it goes back to this balance we're talking about supporting new, exciting things and also supporting what we know is wonderful. I also think that when it comes to the idea of weaning off, like from a grant administration perspective, I don't know if that's codified with RAP, and that's something that I'd want to see. Because like with a lot of these grants, we are indicating that we'd like to fund them less and less over time. But I think a good grant program tells applicants, if you win this year over year, expect to see it decrease. And we haven't really committed to that mission as
Yeah,
much as I understand.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that you should be really clear about to organizations, because the reality is that the better an event gets, the more expensive it gets. And I've never heard of an event that got cheaper anyways. So, it comes down to like, what is our mission more than like, what do we want to message to our grantees? And for me, if that's not part of our mission right now, I don't know if it's something we have to feel tied to.
Well, then, along with that, Ben, in our agendas for other meetings, I'd like to bring up that this 83,000 is just a small amount of the RAP
20%,
funding.
yeah.
Should we
And
finish?
so, when we're just so for an agenda item for later, what power do we have to withdraw or vote? I think the city council votes on it.
Yeah, and that's
For the
something that we
parks
should actually
thing,
have
but-
conversation.
Anyway,
And
just throwing it out for the
there is an
agenda.
item in the bylaws that we're gonna vote on changing, and so there could be some discussion about
Okay.
future.
Great.
Sort of, there's a mission statement and everything. But, okay, so yeah, what do we think about,
It's a huge thing.
Yeah,
We
should we
have
get
more
back to
money.
what are we doing
Okay.
for?
We got two
yeah, what are we at?
This one to me feels, again, like similar to, we about half, give or take, showing just continued support for an awesome project.
So I heard 10 thrown
I
out
had
there.
said
Is there any-
10. Could we find the halfway point between 10 and, what is half of
75.
15, 7?
12.5.
Should we what about 8?
They say,
I'm good with 8,
they're getting 12,500 from the NEA funds this year, which
maybe
may
not.
not, probably won't happen.
What is that, National Endowment of the Arts?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's just,
It sounds like we're definitely gonna come back and reinvestigate this. How
yeah.
about 8 for now?
that's,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, can put that in there. Okay, now finally, MVMC's Multicultural Youth Arts and Rec.
Great.
Very specific part of the community.
Yes, and
Doing excellent.
an organization that right now is so relevant and
Oh.
so important.
Absolutely.
I think-
Anything we can do to fund them.
A great tie of like arts and recreation to a larger, really important cause for our community.
Yep.
Yeah.
10.
I'd give them 8 if we can finagle, but that's just a starting point,
I gotta, I'm gonna ask
What'd you
them
say,
to
Richard?
go
I
to
said
youth
8,
garden.
just as a starting point.
Moab Valley Multicultural has to go to youth garden. Oh,
That is our highest ranked one.
Yeah.
You need to settle that. Yeah, sure. What if we start with 8?
I think that's
8.
great.
Okay, so let's put that in and see where that brings us. Total,
I put
101, 300.
8.
So, quick math here, we have 83. So 7, about 18, is that
Chipping away.
18.3?
Chip away, chip away.
Yeah. Get your wallet out.
I would start chipping away from some of the bigger projects that are gonna feel that, feel it less. If it were up to me, but
What do we have to come up with? 18?
Yeah, 18.3, right? Or did I say that wrong? Yeah.
17, 18, 3.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna use the
18.3.
restroom briefly. You all can keep going if you
All right,
like.
let's all talk about.
I would
Let's
personally.
break 5.
Oh, yeah, let's, yeah, we'll take a quick break. I'm sorry. I was gonna walk over and
Don't
talk
tell
to you.
anybody.
Okay,
You can
someone's
go
getting
too.
long enough, we might need a dinner break. No, we're getting there. So we need 18.3. One sec.
I love how I start off. I hate.
Yeah. Well, this was so cool because there's so many different perspectives.
Oh, I know.
So you have this opinion.
It's really neat,
Oh, wait,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense too. So it's a good discussion.
And then I say, I hate this project, and I'll vote for 5,000.
Yeah, that's right.
We never know where you're going to come. First group of opinion, and that's good. Yeah, I think it's a good
It's a
discussion.
good committee. It's a good group. It's a tough job
sad it's my
because
last
there's
year.
such a demand for it.
Are you gonna be done?
Well, I don't know how it works, but as far as I was aware, it was a 3-year term, so I don't know if you can
Can we
renew or
again?
not.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, as far as
through
the
my
needs.
3 years is up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's just a motion or recommendation for renewal I gotta ask Kelly, I just going off
Yeah.
the right special service district I sit on. But
okay,
you don't necessarily have to put it back out unless there's somebody stepping down.
interesting,
You can
okay.
renew, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if I could renew, I'd like to.
Okay. Don't quote me on that, because this is my first year being involved.
I can't believe it's my 3rd, I'm like, where
So
did the time go?
how many applications did we have last year?
Around the same, 22,
Around the same,
23.
I think there were a little fewer last year, I thought. I
Well,
think there
there
were more the
were.
first year, fewer last year.
And then we extended it last year.
That's right, we were having some challenges,
Because,
that's right.
because we were lower, and then all of a sudden, a bunch came in on the last day. So it was somewhere around there, 21, 22,
I
23.
guess yeah. I
Yeah.
don't always trust my memory.
Going to City Hall, bro.
I know, dude.
You should be out shredding.
Something.
You know, I heard a rumor.
I love a good
So,
loiter.
you know,
Yeah, you love a good loiter.
I've been loitering in public
That
spaces for 10
the
years.
liquor store
dude.
doesn't collect
Yeah.
this tax,
That's right.
the rack tax.
That is right.
They
Oh,
don't,
really?
yeah. I'd love to see the council look into that, because that's such a gold mine. We could make $1 zillion.
But I think in the state statute, I think it's a pretty clearly defined what can be, this tax can be applied to, and I don't think that,
It wasn't alcohol.
yeah,
Rats.
but that's an interesting,
But, yeah,
yeah.
because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, Kelly, Patrick, does anybody know, do we have to re-vote? Does the community have to re-vote on rap tax at any point? Does it
We do,
sunset?
as a
When-
community.
When does that happen?
It's a 10-year?
10
10
years.
years?
And I believe it was
Okay.
2020?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
believe
right.
it's due
Okay,
for
so we got-
2030.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we got a little bit of time. 5 years. What's that?
My fiance lives on string cheese. It's like, holy shit.
I want to get one, it's market for months. And you don't need to refrigerate it.
Yeah, that's right. That stuff is
Lasts forever.
shelf stable. It's terrifying.
Just don't think about it.
Oh, I'd love thinking about string
I
cheese.
love thinking
Nothing's gonna change that.
Okay, let's start cutting. So, I'm sorry, what's the procedure now? Are we gonna start cutting from our lowest recommendations, or our lowest scored,
A
or?
couple of things, and it's gonna be up to you guys, but I've seen it where you cut uniformly across the board. If we know we have 18, we have this many applicants, if you start taking 1,000 here, 2,000 there. And sort of on like a percent, not a percentage, but like on scale, right? That's one method, but you could also, yeah, it's gonna be up to this committee, not me.
So it was your point that, maybe disproportionately cut with some of
That's
some of
kind
the
of how I was,
bigger?
that's how I was feeling,
Yeah,
just because
like
there were
cultural
some.
fire events, I think we could slash it a little bit,
You mean decrease it or remove it?
decrease it.
Okay.
think-
What's that, Nolly? Which one?
Oh, I was just saying, for example, if we started from the bottom.
I was thinking, I mean, my thought process more was like, you know, the smaller projects are gonna, you know, need this money more. We have some really big projects that are, you know, got more money because they're well-established and could request more money because they have, you know, they could back it up. And so, you know, cutting $1,000 from like the music festival is, you know, probably a much less of a big deal than cutting 500 from, you know, a much smaller project, but.
Is there like a formula that we could use to say like, okay, we know we need to decrease it by this percentage? Like 83 is this percentage of 101,000, and then we could kind of like
And
do a
divide that by number of
calculation
applicants.
for
But then
each
that's
of
ignoring
them.
what Zoe just said.
That's,
I mean,
it's a
it was just an
proportional
idea.
cut.
Right.
I feel like there are a few that we chose to fully fund, and it feels, you know, to me, it would feel weird to be like, we gave you 95%, you know, it seems important to like signal that we are fully funding those projects.
I
It's a
also.
starting place, if, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion.
Well, I mean, maybe we could just start calling things out. I mean,
Okay, so Moab Art Trails already gets funding from the city.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'd be
But
happy
that's
to,
the one I was saying, they have 33, they get 33.
I'd be happy to remove from Art Trails.
Great program.
Great program.
2,000?
So the 33, I think
3,000?
the clarification there was that was, not all of that funding was guaranteed. They had requested 33,000 in funding from different organizations, but it hadn't come in or wasn't granted yet. I think they did it a little weird, because I remember that was the question, right, Kelly?
What if we go down to 5 as a start?
Well, what if we start at the top and,
Moab Art Trails is already at 5.
Let me
sorry.
ask this, the 3 that you have at 0, are you wanting to keep those there? You're not wanting to touch those?
I think it would be too hard to start adding funds
Okay.
at this point.
so I
So-
recommend cultural fire events go down to 2.
I'd like to keep them at 3, at least, personally.
Let's start with 3.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was gonna say KZMU, I could see going down to 4.
I support that.
Okay. The museum could go lower, as Richard said, they don't have their funding secured, they could do fundraising.
I feel comfortable with our recommendation for the museum at this time.
Me too.
Yeah.
Wellness Fair, I don't think you can get much
I
lower.
originally didn't give any funding to the Wellness Collective.
Could you explain a little more the thought process behind that?
Let me reference my notes.
Notes are great.
Where did it go? Arts are not the focus. Also, oh, this is not clear. It said venue had
that
not been
is
selected,
true.
but that is not true anymore.
So this is one that I think you had mentioned didn't qualify last year, and they had done some work to sort of get it qualified or make it qualify in a kind of a backdoor sense. Are you feeling comfortable that it firmly sits in that category?
So for example, and everything I say, I just like, I think this is a great program and a great fair. It would be like, I don't know, like YGP puts on the Harvest Festival, and there's music there, but music isn't necessarily the focus of the Harvest Festival. And it feels a little bit like that. Like their focus, right, is mental health support, and resource fair type thing. They're using music to bring people to the event. Music is not the focus of the event. I don't know. On the same,
I agree with zeroing. I think if we had tons of extra money, great, but again, I think that's well put.
Yeah, well said,
I'm
Emily.
not happy about it, but
I don't think anyone's questioning the support for this program.
Right.
It's just in alignment with the dollars that we have and
yeah.
the mission that RAP is, so, yeah, okay. Zeroing that?
Grand County Running Club put on the Moab locals before rap tax. We could say 1,000 for them. They used to just do it.
I think it's such a small amount and such
Yeah.
a good use of funds.
I believe last year was their first year
Yeah,
applying,
because I
correct?
told them to apply.
I think so.
There's,
I'm pretty positive, actually, because, yeah, year
Right.
one, they did not, and then we were approached by Rana about the
Right.
rap for year two.
So for years, she put it on without.
They just kind of refired it 3 years ago. So year one, there was a pretty big break.
I think we should keep it
Well,
for now.
she was doing a running club, I guess, without running the race.
Correct, yeah, the race itself. the
I
race
also
itself.
just want to point out there are much fewer like sporty type recreation events that are
Okay.
getting funded than there are arts-based
Okay.
ones, and I feel
How
comfortable
about
keeping it at 2.
1,500?
So real quick,
Yeah.
we're good on zeroing out Wellness Collective?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
How about 1,500 for the running club?
I'd love to leave the running club as is right
Okay,
now.
all right.
I think
Good
it's
circle
great
back.
for us to be able to say we fully fund a few folks, and it's
Yeah.
such a small
Be
ask.
one less T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, ephemeral.
Well, I believe that it's 6.
I don't want to touch that. I like,
Yeah, we went.
I like that a lot.
I would slash it to 3.
I would be willing on the sci-fi, give up $500 to another group, and we'll just
Okay,
try to cover that someplace.
thanks. Yeah,
So,
2,500. Where are you? You
So you're
skipped
saying
some.
down to 2,500 for sci-fi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does the rest of the group support that?
I don't like the ephemeral, but, so I would like to see less, but they have to see if they can pull it off.
Remind me what your concerns were with the federal?
Very, very limited. You're funding a few folks to come play music at a few houses.
Gotcha.
If they had some great program where they're saying, we're doing social media, we're doing,
Well, they do have marketing in their budget, and ephemeral is a writing collective, or I can't remember exactly how they
Storytelling,
built. Yeah, it
yeah.
is a collective, but they've had an inaugural issue. I know they're coming out with more. I think they're building on a lot of things that they've already done.
I also don't think small is bad. I think like creating intimate experiences around arts and recreation is awesome. Like I think if everything is this huge event and we're just looking at, bottom line, what are the total numbers, you lose a lot of what makes these things special.
And again, I think they're gonna get more than 100 people.
It's got a good community feel, like, it's when I think about Moab, it's like, well, what makes Moab unique? Like, well, not every community has a stoop fest, that's pretty
Right.
unique. Not every community has a sci-fi film festival, it's pretty unique.
Right.
Like,
Do we
things
want to
like
go
I
down to
just-
5? Just
yeah,
'cause-
I would just be happy reducing it
Yeah,
a little
maybe
bit
5.
and compare it
have
to
to
the
kinda-
other.
we have quite a bit
Since we're having to
to,
probably
Yeah.
cut uniformly across the board to
I feel
hit
good
that.
about 5.
Okay.
And I do thank the committee
I mean, we do
for
not
the
stand still plates.
recommended amount
I
that
think
they're giving
anonymous,
us. We love
can
our
drop
festival.
anonymous.
I think we
Yeah.
could drop that to,
Even
5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
yeah.
You want to go 5 there for now? We talked about sci-fi, so fast pitch, elite.
No.
I wouldn't touch
I'm gonna
it.
try to, don't touch that for,
I'd like to maintain that funding
Yeah.
for fast pitch.
okay. Art trails.
Didn't we already?
Yeah, didn't we discuss lowering this? Maybe we didn't land on a number?
We didn't.
I can't, I don't remember if we
I'd be
touched
fine
this one or
lowering it.
not.
3,
2,500, oh.
25? Deal.
Sold.
We're gonna go 25, okay.
Does that feel good to you too? 25 for?
Yeah.
USARA is up at 6.
Before we go any further, can we see
Yeah, where are we
the
at?
total again?
Oh, yeah, so that brings us down to 90,000, so,
We'll need
$7,000 to go.
$7,000.
yeah.
I think the
Oh, we gave you
skate
3,
will
that's right.
happen at a much, they don't need that money to put it on. I mean, I think they do it.
I mean, we're a pretty significant ask of their total budget.
Yeah, I mean,
What about
basically,
5?
I'd give it
yeah.
How about 4? We've been aiming for half-seas?
I mean, I just think of a percentage of the Moab community, that's really little that's gonna go to a state skate fest compared to a Moab music
It's like
festival.
really
I'd
well
leave it at
attended.
6.
But that's reflected
I
in
think
the
it gets
budget, too.
families out, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I've never been to the Moab Music Festival. I've been to skate night. I don't skate.
How about we do 5 and then come back to it?
Okay.
Okay, that feels good to me.
Arts Fest.
I'd be fine taking some off of that one.
They are going to happen, they're almost commercial.
4?
4 sounds great.
Cut 2 off of that one. Okay, Arts for Recovery. That was another full fund. You think 5 is appropriate to, or, I'm not, this is not,
Yeah, I
it's
don't
not my
like
job.
I don't think we need the full fund.
I would love to
4.
continue down the list and revisit
Okay.
that
You
one.
wanna look at that
I
one?
think that's a pretty great project.
Yeah, Music Fest.
6. Give them 5. I mean, I hate that we have to nickel and dime.
I know.
Well, if
It doesn't-
anything,
none of us
And
They
the last time we had extra money, we got to give it out. It was so much more fun.
We're only $4,000 away.
Okay,
For making
so
this
Moab
copacetic.
Musical Fest is going to 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel like I'm watching Let's Make a Deal.
Yeah,
I think let's,
Friends, Film
let's
Fest.
keep that.
I'd love to keep
That could
that
be
as
a
well.
little less. I think they have strong fundraising. They're all funded by their board of directors and their outlook. But yeah, the project is gonna cost 10.
I think that starts to creep into territory of how much we know about organizations versus how much they're putting forward in the application.
Well, that's why they have to put it in their budget,
Well, yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that, but
right?
I don't want to make too many sweeping statements about.
All right,
I'd
3,000.
leave it.
I like the 3,300. It's a great new event.
It's just that we don't have the 300, so if we said 3,000.
What if we go down, I think.
'Cause we have a
free
round
concert
number.
series, we could take a little bit off of, and maybe YGP, we could take a little bit off of. Just because that's kind of consistent with what we've done for the other bigger ones.
Agreed.
So go down to 7 on each one and see where that puts us.
7 on YGP and what else?
And 7 on free concert.
Do we wanna see what that does to the
Going up?
numbers?
It was 8.
Okay,
So we had 8 on each, YGP and let's
Yeah.
see, Folk Fest or Music Fest.
What
Is that,
if we
does-
just
do-
take 1K off of each of those 3 final ones?
That's a good idea.
I would even be happy with Moab Valley Multicultural Center lower,
I don't know
but.
I don't know if I support lowering the free concert series anymore. I think we talked so much about the need and
Yeah, you're right.
What's our-
Okay, bring them back up.
That's 83.3, and if you, which one?
Yeah.
Free concert series?
So if you guys look at it as recreation, arts, and parks, the folk festival is definitely arts. And the Moab Valley Multicultural Center is just trying to incorporate in their application youth arts. That's a really specific number of kids, and you denied a slide to the community childcare. So I'm happy with lowering Moab Valley Multicultural Center. They are getting most of their grant money outside of arts and parks.
I'd leave it at 7,000.
I think 7's good.
yeah, there's a reason it's highly ranked.
What's our total number we need to get to?
83, so we're 1,300 above that. Molly did bring up, unless we were to take 300 off another one.
You want to take it off the
The
film?
If you take it off Friends,
of
then you,
Arches and Canyonlands.
No, you want to keep it on there, Ben?
I think we keep, there's only so many we're fully funding. It's nice to be able to.
I know, but it's
tout fully
mathematically
funded.
difficult.
I know, but we can shave 1,300.
Well,
We
and-
just
yeah.
shaved 20,000. We can do 1,300.
and you can take 100 off of a
Let's
few.
go back
I
to the
mean,
top and see the lowest ones again.
All right,
Did we add 1,000 back to the free concert?
so I did add 1,000 back to free concert. We had taken, the last 3 were all at 8. And so we kept
What did
YGP.
we do for KZMU? Did we take any off of KZMU?
We took 1,000 off.
Yeah.
Well, you could take 1,000 off the Art for Recovery. We were
Yeah.
fully funding that at 6. I mean,
I
it's
do
just.
really like that one, but I agree. I think that,
I-
maybe
I
even
would-
55.
I would support taking some from the Moab Museum.
Okay.
Yeah, because we didn't touch that.
We didn't touch that one. Many of these, we've gone just under half. Right now, we're
Okay.
solidly at half with them.
What if we just, like, let's start even more nickel and diming, 3,500 for Moab Museum?
Okay, so what is everyone's reasoning on the Moab Valley Multicultural Center?
They do arts programming with the kids, you know.
Yeah, they
Right,
do a lot of-
How many? How is that impacting, you know?
So I think, Molly, from what you've made this comment a
Yeah.
lot about it's impacting a small group of people. And
Yeah.
I don't see that as a negative thing. I see
Okay.
that as, like, there's different pockets of the community that we're serving through arts programming, and a broad-reaching event is great, but also one that really supports and strengthens a specific demographic is also great.
There's a big ripple
That's my
effect,
perspective
too.
on it.
Yeah, I think there are a few events out there that truly cater to everyone, like a water bottle festival. It's like,
The water what?
Wait, what?
I'm just trying to think of like the perfect event, like that caters to every single person. I don't think it exists.
A Moab Art Festival in the park, because anyone can go.
Well, I think the thing about youth programming too is it has such a ripple effect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, the next generation of our
I just think
town.
at $7,000, it could have a ripple effect. Yeah,
I would take a little bit of money off KZMU's. I don't know how much we already brought them down, but if we're starting to just.
We
take
already-
off small amounts.
yeah, we took 1,000 off of that. I'm sorry, I don't do math. What's the
Let's take a
difference
little
now?
bit off of the free
1,300?
concert series, because they're funded at
1,300.
over half right now.
Okay.
So I think, I don't know. I
What
think
did you say,
going-
sorry?
I think that taking some off of the free concert series, they're funded at over half, which is not really consistent with what we've been doing for kind of these bigger.
okay, let's
Established
go with
ones.
7.
Well, I don't know. I'm actually feeling like I could see taking some from the Multicultural Center before I saw from.
We just did.
Oh, we did?
Because we had 888 for the last
Oh,
3.
okay,
And
got it.
I like the idea of just taking 1,000 off of each of those.
Great, thank you.
And so am I hearing that we want to take Folk Fest or Free Concert Series down to 7?
Yep. If Ben allows the 300 to go away from the Arches Parks.
Sounds good.
And you can take 100 here and 100 there. These don't have to necessarily be clean amounts that we're funding.
Sure, that works.
So it's not to say that it has to be, they don't all have to end in a 0 necessarily, or,
Yeah.
I think going down to 7 for free concert and then taking the 300 off of the movie is nice and easy.
I like it.
They can find $300.
Yeah.
okay, I will type that in. Is there any more discussion?
Ooh, you might have
2,000,
put
not 300.
300.
Thanks.
That puts us at 83. I'm just going to double check here. I do have it written. Yes, 83.
Okay, yeah, this is very exciting.
Okay,
Feeling good?
so what do you need a motion to,
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to approve the funding amount presented
I'll
in the
move
amount of 83,000.
I'll move that motion.
Moved by Richard.
I will second the motion for funding recommendations.
All right, seconded by Ben. All in favor?
What a great job.
Any opposed? Actually, we should have gone discuss, we did ask for discussion. Any opposed?
Okay.
I'm not leaving this one feeling great, but it's just because there's not enough money to go around.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're okay on that?
Motion passes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So I would make some proposals for the next meeting agenda to cover some of those exact issues.
Yeah.
One being, with specific applications, perhaps we could construe an email to Moab Solutions that maybe the city event fee include a paragraph about recycling. I mean, just ideas that we just didn't feel it fell into recreation, arts and parks, and we didn't know the viability? Or, I mean, do we have those concise ideas we're gonna tell groups that got 0?
I think, I don't know. Never mind.
Well,
I'm
I
not gonna
think-
speak for you. Are we reaching out and giving feedback? We haven't done that in the past, have we?
I don't remember if any of recent out.
Well,
don't
so I'm
think
just
so.
proposing
I think
it
if
on the
people
agenda for the
ask-
next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, this is a recorded meeting that, you know, they can hear the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just, for the
Yeah.
agenda of the next meeting, I think we should clarify that and make sure we have good notes of why something got 0 or recommendations. So on that note, I heard Richard ask for a recommendation, like to talk to Moab Music Festival, or maybe on our agenda of how we view these large groups and their funding. That was something I heard him say,
Yeah.
and you had something in line with that of when
Can you
we
say a
have
little
these-
more about that?
Richard was saying just,
I'm just saying, like, every year, we're getting those requests, and it seems they're bigger and bigger chunk, and we have less and less for some of the other projects.
Sure. yeah.
So maybe there's a way, maybe we say, if you get it 3 years in a row, the fourth, maybe it's not an automatic,
No, it's never an automatic, but yeah.
I mean,
I'm trying to
Yeah,
share it, but you don't want to hurt those that are
I think
doing
there's
it.
a
I don't know
balance,
how we
like
do
you guys
that.
talked about, like a balance of showing ongoing support for these really,
Yeah.
kind of cornerstone events, and also making sure we have enough money to,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of support these like growing, growing arts community, growing recreation community.
yeah. So on that note, on the agenda would be, how are we having a vote or opinion about the percent of money the RAP board is getting on the applications compared to the general fund of the RAP amount? So just something to look at. 'Cause-
Sorry, can you clarify that for me?
I think
Are you
that-
asking if, like, the split of it, or?
Well, if the committee has any way to recommend to the city that we get more money
Yeah,
as a
a larger
percent,
percentage,
or
something
that,
10%.
It could.
that
Yeah.
percent that the parks is using applies for an application, or like puts in their application for it and shows.
When the council adopted it, when they set the amount, the 75-25, or whatever that split was, I remember the discussion was, well, we'll do that for a few years, and then we'll revisit it. Maybe it can
So I'm
go.
just asking that it come up
Exactly,
to
maybe it
revisit.
can increase.
Yeah.
And the city has their own demands, so, we're all part of that process.
And I think that's something this committee can bring to city council for discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
that's- I think
Okay, I
that's-
was just putting that on the
Yeah.
agenda
Yeah.
for a,
No, I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
good.
yeah.
I do want to clarify that this year, it wasn't that it was a lower percentage, it's just that the tax amount that was collected for the entire RAP
Yes.
tax year was
Oh.
lower. So it was still remained at that 80-20, it's just the total pot was.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it 80-20 or is it
City
a
gets
quarter?
80, credit gets 20.
Yeah, and so if that was bumped up to 25%, we would be distributing 103,000.
Yeah, which is a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, I think Molly and Richard were talking about this, but is there a survey that goes out to applicants after the grant application? No. I'm curious, because we spent a lot of time talking about trying to find this balance between supporting sort of institution events and also making sure that we're targeting those newer ones. And, I think that starting with, if staff wanted to do this and they had the time, and by no means directing staff to do anything. A survey to everyone who applied, asking them about what they think of the program can often be really helpful. If they're nonprofits, they live in the grant world. They probably have a lot of insights that we don't. I've seen a lot of programs like this take a tiered approach where a certain amount is set aside for new events and then another is set aside for existing events. There are all kinds of ways that, just a few more pieces of infrastructure for this grant could help us next year better target these things that we're talking about, that they're very important to us.
Yeah, I think that goes back to identifying the mission of the committee, like you touched on earlier, and figuring out what the priorities are for
Yeah.
the city. Really quickly, because we sort of skipped item 5 on the agenda, and we're on to General discussion number 6, so just something housekeeping related.
Please.
Before we move on, discussion approval of updated RAP tax project guidelines. There's one item that changed from last year. I'm sorry, yes, that we're proposing changes from last year, and that's under additional requirements. There's a note now, projects must take place within Moab city limits and/or on city-owned property. That wasn't specified or clarified.
So we get the question every year, can we do a project out at Old City Park? And the
Oh,
answer
good.
of the past few years has been technically no. So does the committee want to
Good.
have that language and/or on?
Yes.
Is there another,
Yeah,
is there
I
another
make a-
example? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's a good
Make motion.
idea. Do you need a motion?
I make a motion to add that language.
I'll second it.
Is there,
All's in
is there
favor?
any other city property that this would affect?
Well, yeah, we'll just,
I think it's just Old City Park.
it's gonna be primarily OCP.
Well, it could be things like the golf course, where we're gonna be doing a master plan. And one of the things that came up was,
Oh,
could
your
it also be
city-owned.
a site for pickleball court?
Yeah.
So could the future, the city uses some rack.
The city owns the
help
golf
play.
course.
City owns the golf course
Oh.
property.
I think that I'm comfortable with that
Nobody
being
knows.
wrapped in. Yeah.
Nobody knows that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if this is about Old City Park, I think specific motions are always great, but I don't foresee any issue with this language, so, sounds great.
Do you have something else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to add the language specifically pertaining to Old City Park.
We've got the motion, we just need to call for a vote now, yeah?
Yeah, we did have a motion.
Yeah, I'm
You
good with the
moved.
city, specifically it was a motion for city-owned properties.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion? Nope, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to scoot,
Okay.
my wife
Oh.
fractured her kneecap.
Okay, yep, that should have been the last voting item.
Is there one more?
Nope, I believe that was,
Just now?
Yeah.
Just,
A
thank you.
month ago, she's
Oh,
got 3 to
geez.
6 months with a,
My goodness.
so she's immobilizing when you have a puppy at home.
Oh, okay.
You got a lot waiting for you.
You're in there, I can.
good to see you, Richard.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so I know we had kind of begun the discussion of the 2025 application process and to see what we thought there and possible changes to bring up at next meeting.
Yeah, does this body meet any more times during the year, or is this it?
It was originally set up so that you'd only have to meet once a year. The first 2 years, we met a couple more times to go over things like how we want to change the application, some stuff like that. I did have a question for you guys regarding the reporting process. So we currently don't have a form that has to be filled out. We just ask for a narrative and financial final report to be submitted. So we don't have a specific way that we do that, but that's something that we get questions on a lot. So if you want there to be a form, if you want to keep it as is, that's something we can talk about in a future meeting if you'd like.
Well, I know that the recreation district is they said they're updating their reporting requirements. Do you want to?
Yeah, and I missed the last meeting, so I'm not sure exactly what that looks like. I think Emma was trying to build out a form.
Okay.
And mostly just to make it easier for applicants to report. So I don't think it was anything, just to gather more information. So, yeah, I think there's a thought to maybe formalize our process as well. I don't know exactly what the special service district is doing.
I would like to see them aligned because it is already recreation focused.
Okay.
But that's county, isn't it? Or is it city?
It's county.
It's county.
It's county, but it's funding similar. We get a lot of the same applicants.
I think
Yeah.
a simple, straightforward form that just gets, asks for concise, clear answers is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, standardized is great. You can put them all together, and if you have to do an audit, it's way easier to read everything. And if you put that together, then next year, that can be part of the application, so applicants can know what they're going to be reporting on.
Yeah.
That'll help some people craft a stronger application.
And for the committee as well, to look at those reports.
Absolutely.
In a simplified format.
So we could reach out to the county and see what that looks like. We could come up with something, and
I've built tons of grant reporting stuff on the staff side in county. I don't know what SSD is doing, but you're welcome to reach out to me in staff capacity and I can provide some resources.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Okay. We'll work on that. Any further discussion on the process? Yes, Kelly.
This was just something I noticed when going, like reviewing them initially for you. There was a question we had on the application that I noticed people didn't really answer. It was about if you received draft funding before and what that project looked like, and people only answered that one question. So do we want to keep that? Do we want to change it?
That was a similar, and this is maybe probably just a structure of the application, but similar, the financial section also had a question. There's a question within a question about like, would this go on without RAP funding? And I think probably when you're reading those, you answer the first question and don't necessarily answer like the mini questions in them. So, maybe that's just simplifying it to one simple question in each section, or like, breaking it up more clearly if we do want clearer answers to those.
Yeah, I support breaking it up. I think that within some of those questions, there were good essay questions, and then something like, is this financially viable? So it's an easy multiple choice, yes, no, I'm not sure. And then you ensure that you get that answer, and you still have an essay response for the majority of the financial question. Yeah, of course.
The spaces could be smaller on the yes, no questions.
Too far apart?
It was like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Something that would be helpful, and I don't think we need to require the grantees to do this, but maybe just when we're, I don't know. I don't want to create more work for you guys, I guess. It would be nice to see what we funded last year when we're having this discussion. So whether or not we're putting that.
It's right there. It's all there. Or it's
in
on
our-
one
It's
of
in the
our,
packet.
It's in the
or it's in
packet.
the packet on the summary. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, it's in one of the summaries.
Okay.
It also nicely breaks
it was
up.
in the.
Yeah,
That means
the-
it's R, A, or P, which is, I think, helpful too, just to kind of see the balance of, are we mostly doing arts? Are we mostly doing
Yeah.
recreation?
There weren't a lot of, like traditional rec-based applications. Christina's one of the big ones.
Well, fast pitch and.
Yeah, Christina and, what was it?
Running club.
That's right, the running, the race.
I guess, like, I don't know. If we're already pulling this table out to make the notes.
We could structure the form we have on the screen right now.
Yeah.
We could add columns and then they could be hidden if you don't want to look at them.
Yeah.
We could put this section in with the category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that.
So instead of recommended funding amount, I just did all of last year's funding.
Yeah.
So I could look at it. Because, and then I just made it, so another column.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we're talking about adding columns, which is always fun, I don't think this is necessary, but it could help my brain. I know you're talking a lot about going for half, less than half with a lot of these. This column right here could be reflecting this number over the ask in real time and telling us, okay, we've dropped them down, now they're down to 47%, that feels good, stuff like that.
I feel like either we as a group did that last year, or I did it in my own.
I know I had it on my own
Spreadsheet,
spreadsheet for the requests.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because when we're playing with those numbers in real time, it's easy to get lost with what the original request was and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that our target of like aiming for 50% on a lot of those things was really smart. I think staff did a fantastic job. You all are awesome.
Absolutely,
Thank you
yeah.
for putting this together.
Yeah. Felt like a really smooth process this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Colin's all right too.
Cool. All
I
right.
think when people apply for grants, do some organizations kind of shoot for the moon and others just stay really within what their
You shoot for the moon.
needs are?
So,
I mean,
yeah.
is that, I'm just, and I, this is a terrible time to bring this up because this could be a whole nother discussion, but is that the best way to approach this? To be like, hey, well, they asked for 16, we'll give them 8. You know, we cut everybody in half.
Yeah.
Well, I
Or should
think
we
you need
come
to
out
look
with
at
some
their
other way
budget
to
and
just to
determine that.
qualify that or to
That's what-
I mean, I think
That's
we
what
do
the
kind
budget's
of,
about.
I think we do kind of address that because we are pretty vocal about like, this is a project we want to fully fund, you know? So I think that does happen kind of organically.
And I think that your question is like, I think the answer unfortunately is it depends. It depends on where the organization is within their growth process. Are they new? Are they matured? Are they reforming? There's this whole life cycle of a nonprofit. And we don't know where they are. We could take some guesses with some of these folks. When I was doing a grant program with the county, one of the questions that I asked that I personally was interested in, I don't know how much it helped those who are ranking the applications, is if we can't fund your full amount, would you like a partial amount? Some people say no. Most people don't, but some people do.
That's interesting.
Wow, yeah.
Because for a lot of people, like you said, they're shooting for the moon. It might be like, if this funding is going to happen, it might not be worth my time. It might be something I try next year. It might be something that we go back to the drawing board. We were committed to this idea, but without this funding, it just doesn't feel feasible. You know, and I think that's just another way of getting another data point on our applicants. Again, I don't know how helpful it is to folks ranking, but I found it
I
interesting.
mean, roughly, like just, yeah, very roughly looking at it, the people who asked for close to the maximum amount tend to be like our staple nonprofits who have a lot of grant writing experience and
Yeah.
probably, you know, feel like they have more to back up a bigger ask compared to, you know,
Yeah,
smaller organizations who are like, we're gonna, you know, down to the cent, we're gonna ask for only exactly what we need.
like the Moab Museum was clearly, their budget was like, if we want to put this on, this is what it's going to cost us.
Yeah,
And we haven't done other fundraising, but we will,
right.
yeah.
And then,
I was just gonna say, myself, like, in my learning process as a grant writer, I used to be more conservative, even though our budget's, like, I mean, it has grown, but like, you know, not like that much. I used to be more conservative, and now it's like, I'm going to ask for as much as I think is possible, because so many boards like this do look at, like, okay, well, what are they asking for? Can we give them half? So, like, strategically, it makes more sense for an organization to look at what program is gonna has the highest expense, and I can ask the most from this process. And very few grants also, and it sounds like so manipulative, I'm sorry, it's not like that, but, most grants don't say this is the cap of what you can ask for. Like, most are just like, what do you need? You know, and that gets really hard to know, like, okay, do I ask for a conservative amount, or do I shoot for the moon?
yeah.
You know, I don't know.
And I think another thing, and I think this again comes back to thinking about the mission of the board and the program, you know, there's some nuance between the idea of we want to take these funds and spread them as equitably as possible across the applicants that qualify, which is kind of the,
Really? Some in the
which is-
community don't feel that way.
right,
They
well,
feel-
and
yeah.
some people could say, no, this should be about ribbon cutting. You want to put full funding behind really good projects. There are grant programs that do both. Currently, we're kind of more towards the latter, or sorry, the former. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it could be helpful to, going into the next grant round, more clearly define what the intention is. Do we intend to do it like this spread, or do we want more people shooting for the moon because we're gonna honor more moonshots?
Great. Well, and the discussion can continue, but I'm going to entertain the motion to adjourn in case folks do want to leave. But I think this discussion is good, and it should continue. No, I want to stick around. But I'm just, and I shouldn't say that. I don't mean to cut anybody
You're
off if we want to
fine.
continue, but I think it can continue. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would move to adjourn the rap tac.
I second.
Okay. Seconded and thirded. Meeting adjourned. No.
Okay, one more question. So,
We can still talk, I just wanted to.
No, you're fine.
things like the Stoop Fest, these newer groups, if we fund them, but it's a fraction of what they asked for, and they don't, it doesn't happen,
We get to bring back.
Right.
is that emergency
I
wrap?
don't, it comes back. Yeah, it comes back.
Money comes back.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought.